This video is being sponsored by 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗪, which has a collection of well-written crafted courses for software developers, from Python to front-end to system design to scalability to Docker and whatnot. Learning at 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗪 is really powerful because they have all coding workspaces in the browser itself, and also they offer 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗣𝗪 Unlimited, in which you pay only once for all the courses. They have annual and monthly plans, and my audience gets a 10% additional discount on the 40% campaign they have for India. So you get a 46% discount on using the coupon Rachit, and you can have the link in the description below.
We are writing JavaScript, CSS, we are doing import of CSS into a JavaScript file, and everything seems to work at this point. So slowly and slowly, how this create React app works out of the box, we are kind of doing that on our own now, because now we understand how Webpack works. So we begin our journey with an empty package.json. You can see there are no dependencies installed. And the first step is to basically understand how exactly Webpack works. So we'll give a very simple input and we'll see just how Webpack does what it does. Okay. So let me bring the chapter which introduces the basic version of Webpack to us. So we have added dev dependencies for Webpack and Webpack CLI. And that's pretty much about it. We have added two scripts so that we can do npm run bundle prod, or we can do npm run bundle dev. And what it will do is essentially run the Webpack binary with the different modes, which is specified over here. Why do we have modes in Webpack? Well, for production, it does different kind of optimizations, and for development, Webpack will do different kinds of optimizations. So to get the best out of it, out of box, we have just to specify the mode as a flag. Okay. At this point, I also want to mention Webpack is extremely configurable. You can extend the functionality by adding more loaders, more plugins, and we will explore everything. If I just give you a very raw example of Webpack config and throw you into some project, you would be really very much scared to understand what are so many rules, what are so many loaders, what is this plugin doing, how to understand this config. There are so many of things, like it will just be very overwhelming for you. So that's why I want to start very small, like I want to take very small baby steps in order to make sure that you really understand Webpack. And after this video, I want that basically you should be able to understand any config, and you should have that confidence to go and explore this on your own. Okay, you should not feel uncomfortable that what the hell is going on. So that's my main objective. So now if I run npm run bundle prod, you can see that Webpack is run in mode production, and basically it generates a main.js file in dist folder by default. Okay, so it is using the default. This dist main.js is the output. Okay, I'll enable word wrap so you can see it in one line. So you can see that this is what Webpack generated, and what was the input, because I have not mentioned that. So by default, Webpack takes input from src index.js. So this was my input file. Now what is this? It is doing two console.log statements. One is simple string and the other one is add 3 and 4. Add is coming from math, which is math.js, and it's a simple math function. So far so good. So this looks very easy, right? But why do we need Webpack? Well, if you try to run src index.js, obviously Node will complain that it cannot be run because you are using ES module syntax, whereas Node defaults to using CommonJS, and you can in fact see this from here. It is going to the modules CJS, which is CommonJS, and it is trying to use the loader for that, and obviously it will not work. However, if you try to run the dist file, which is what Webpack generated, it is working as expected, right? So this is like very small benefit of Webpack. Obviously, this is not just the use case, and we will see what all Webpack can do. But this is the basic example that I wanted to show you. All right. So now let's move to the next chapter, and now we will understand watch mode and Webpack optimization. Okay. So I will split my screen at this point, and I will open the main.js here. Let's close it from here. So we have files over here, right? And whenever I make changes, at this point of time, you can see in the package.json, I have added another script, bundle prod watch. And what this is doing is, it is running bundle prod, but again adding one more flag to the Webpack, which is watch. Now what will this do? So the benefit of using a watch is, whenever we make changes to our JavaScript files, we do not have to run this bundle prod command again and again. Okay, We don't need to run this command again and again. We can run this in watch mode, and I will go here, prod watch. So once I do this, you will notice that the terminal, it has not exited yet. So whatever changes I make in my any file, it will reflect here. So let's say, for example, I add +10 just because I want to show you that this will change here. O plus L plus 10 should come here. So in real time, it's very easy for us to see what is Webpack generating. Okay. So this is something that I wanted to show you. So this is one thing that I wanted to show you. There is one more thing that I wish to show you at this point. So if I open the index.js file, let's open it here. So once I open the index.js file, if you will notice, if I remove this add and I save this, the output that Webpack generated is very interesting. You will notice that I'm still using add function and I'm saying add 34. In the output, it's showing 17. Yeah, okay. I'm having add 10 as well. That's why, because I have added this 10. Let me remove this just to remove the confusion. So this is 7 now. Yeah. So when a function is being imported from some other file, however, we are using it only once. At that time, Webpack did this optimization on its own because it was in production mode. It said that, hey man, I don't need to include the body or function definition of this function. I can simply call it and store it here. So this is something that I also wanted to mention at this point. Let's see what is the next thing. All right, so now let's move to the next chapter, which is dead code removal. Okay. So for demoing dead code removal, what I need to do is in math.js add another function for multiplication, right? And this is still in production, like watch mode. So even if I add function here, I can keep on adding multiple functions, let's say 2, 3, save this. There is no output, no change here, because it is knowing that you are just increasing the file size of math.js, but you're not using these functions. So I don't need to do anything. Not just that, even if I go and just add import for these statements, right? So even if I do this and save, still no change. And just to make sure that this is working in real time, I'll actually call multiplication and 13 for 4. And over here, you can see that 52. Again, we are calling the function once, so the final value is stored. If I call it again and store, a function should come, which is exactly how it's functioning. So now at this point, we are kind of, we are able to understand how Webpack is working. Okay. The good thing is it is automatically doing dead code removal. It already knows that in math.js, a lot of functions, they are not being used. So I will not put that in the final bundle. All right. The benefit is your bundle size is less, and clients, even if they're on slow networks, the bundle size really matters. If you use so many of libraries and if you include everything, it might happen that you are not using 100% of all the libraries. If everything comes in our final bundle, the client will just have a very pathetic experience when they're trying to open our app, because the JavaScript will keep on loading and it will take a lot of time on network to load so much of data. All right, so now let's move on to the next chapter, which is basic setup for UI component demo. All right, the chapter 5 and 4, we have already understood how we are using function twice and what happens when we are using function once. We saw those optimizations. So now let's do some basic setup for UI component. Okay, so the idea is basically we want to render React components from this project and make sure that when you're using React components, you have most likely used create React app. Create React app by default automatically is doing a lot of things so that you don't have to worry about importing CSS, JSX, TypeScript. It automatically comes out of the box. But we are not going to use create React app. And the final demo that we want to achieve is we should be able to render React components from this particular index.js. Okay, we should be able to use Webpack and not use create React app, but still we should be able to use TypeScript, images, CSS, everything that we want. We should be able to bundle everything together in a very sweet package, and our Chrome browser should load that. Okay, that's what we want to achieve. So for UI, I have created a component welcome message, which is having this JS file. I will close this for a moment. So if you will notice, it is a welcome message. It looks like a React component, but it's not, because I just don't want to take that huge step of introducing React right now. Okay, we will reach there slowly. So welcome message, it's taking an object. It's supposed to be a React prop later on, but for now it's an object, and we are destructuring the person property, and we are converting that to uppercase, and we are returning another string that, hey man, it's great to see that you are learning Webpack. Okay. Now it is also having a CSS. It should have some CSS over here, body, background color, blah blah, right? It should have everything. For now, let's not worry about that, but I'm just doing some basic setup that this is some welcome message that I want to use in index.js. Right now what I am doing is I'm having a variable welcome message div. It's not an HTML div right now because it won't work, right? I'm in Node. I'm not having the browser, or I'm not having the document property with me, so I don't have any DOM. Okay, so but just for namesake, I'm just playing along that welcome message div is a welcome message, and I'm passing Rachit over there. So if I try to generate the bundle for this, and I think it should already be happening, you can see that. So I did not generate the bundle myself because it's already running in this terminal in prod mode. Okay, it's in watch mode. It's already generating, so I can simply run this and see that, hi Rachit, great to see you learn Webpack. So things seem to work, right? So let's now import the CSS. Okay, so once I import the CSS, if you will go to the JS file, I have this import statement. However, if now you will see over here, the watch mode is saying us that, hey man, I don't know what's happening. There is an error in importing the CSS. So basically, when Webpack was trying to build the dependency graph, it reached this line that we are importing the CSS, right? Over here, if you will, let me put. So it said, and I don't understand this line. What is going on? And it's saying that you need an appropriate loader. Okay, so this is a keyword for you. What is loader? So Webpack by default only works with JavaScript and JSON. If you try to load any other file, Webpack complains, hey man, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so it stops. Nothing, no bundle, nothing is generated. It says that fix this error. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we can use a CSS loader, which will handle the files whose extension is CSS. Okay, so basically I have this chapter 8 loaders to the rescue. Let's understand what's happening over here. So we'll go to the package.json. You will see I have added a dependency CSS loader as a dev dependency. What is the CSS loader doing? Well, I have also created another file, webpack config.js. So this can be used to tweak around the behavior of Webpack. And in the Webpack config, you just have to export an object. And this is CommonJS way of doing things. Okay. So what am I exporting? I'm having a module which is saying that when you are, so basically I need to tell Webpack that how to process CSS modules. For that, I need to add the module key inside that rules key, which is an array. And first item is for CSS files. So this is a regular expression. It's saying that whichever file ends with CSS, for that, what I want to do is basically I want to use a CSS loader. So now I have just added the CSS loader at this point, and I need to, since it's a config base, so I need to restart the watch mode again so that it starts in watch mode with the new config, and now the error is gone. So now Webpack understands what the CSS is. And if I go to my main.js file again, I'll open it over here. So if I open the main.js file and toggle the word wrap, oh my god, a bunch of things are happening, but my point is you can clearly see our CSS is here, right? So if we go to the CSS, I added that for every div, the color should be red and the background color should be kind of brownish white, okay, antique white. So this exactly is over here now. So now Webpack, we just gave Webpack the intelligence it needed to understand how to load CSS files. Perfect. So now we are slowly reaching towards the step wherein we are writing HTML code, but we are writing very modular kind of fashion. Like we are writing JavaScript, CSS, we are doing import of CSS into a JavaScript file, and everything seems to work at this point. So slowly, how this create React app works out of the box, we are kind of doing that on our own now, because now we understand how Webpack works. So let's move to the next chapter. In this terminal, I will press N. So next chapter is about Webpack plugins demo. Okay. So Chrome browser needs an HTML file to load something. Okay. What Webpack was doing so far is generating a bundle of JavaScript, right? Now we need an HTML file that consumes that bundle of JavaScript. So for that, we are going to use a plugin, and I will quickly demo that to you. So if we go to package.json, there is another dev dependency added, which is HTML Webpack plugin, right? This HTML Webpack plugin is responsible for basically using every bundle output generated by the Webpack and generating an HTML file automatically, which consumes everything that Webpack has generated. Simple enough, right? The plugin is responsible for generating an HTML file, which consumes everything, JavaScript, CSS, everything, which was generated by the Webpack config. Okay, so we'll go to the dist folder now. We have main.js, right? But since if I have added this plugin, HTML plugin, and I have added a new key, which is plugins, and it's an array, you can add multiple plugins, and this time I have added HTML Webpack plugin. So now I'll have to restart the watch mode. Why? Because the config file has changed. The binary needs to be run again with the new config. And automatically index.html is created for us, which, if I will scroll a little bit, is having a script tag which is loading our main.js. Where is the CSS now? I don't see that. And if I try to open this, so I'll open this with live server, you will see that it says, "Hi Rachit, great to see you learn Webpack." So our HTML is over here. And then we are having 7, 17, 52 and 52. Okay. So I have added this index.js. I'm now able to play around with the document. Why? Because now I am playing with an HTML file. So for HTML file, we already have the DOM with us. So now what I have done is I have a welcome message text, which I am setting to the inner text of my welcome message div, which is now an actual div. I'm using document.createElement div, and then I'm appending the child to the body. So now in our body, we can see this thing. Okay. So now we are able to basically write HTML with JavaScript and CSS, and they are very modular, right? We can pick up any folder structure. It's very easy to maintain now. And we are also having this all optimizations by Webpack. Slowly and slowly, we will introduce TypeScript, React, and then I think we are in a good shape to end. So now let's move to the next chapter, which is about style loader demo, right? So you'll notice that our CSS, it was there in the main.js file. It's still there. I'm not complaining. Like if you will search, see div, color, red, everything is there, but it's not being used, right? Because there is no red color, there is no background. So what's the problem? Webpack is not complaining also, right? Something has gone wrong. We need to understand that. Well, my friends, it's time for another loader, which is style loader. So CSS loader by default only tells Webpack how to process the CSS files. It does not tell Webpack how to use or consume that. So for that, we need a style loader, which takes the output of CSS loader and finally injects the CSS in our HTML. Okay. So if I'll go to the Webpack config, you will see that for CSS now uses an array, and it's using two loaders. The first loader is CSS loader, and the output of that is passed to style loader. Okay. You will ask that why is the order like this? So think of this as a function, right? When you're calling function f, and then let's say go, and then f. So the first function which is being called is f, and the output of that goes to go, and the output of that goes to fun, right? Similarly, output of CSS loader will go to style loader, and that's exactly what we want. So now we have style loader, and the good thing is if I try to generate the bundle again, because I have changed the config, so I need to generate the bundle again, and I go over here, damn, now our CSS is over here as well, right? So think of this, like you used to write HTML so differently, and now things are changing, and we are slowly progressing to use the modern concepts like TypeScript and React. We haven't used it yet, but we are like on the words over there, and I'm doing that very step by step so that you guys understand this. Perfect. So now let's move to the next chapter, which will talk about the mini CSS extract plugin demo. So one thing that I want to explain over here is if you go to the elements tab, you can see that we have inline styles, right? The styles are inline, div, color, red. So whatever we wrote in the CSS file, it is present over here. The reason for that is in our Webpack config, we were using style loader, but now I have added another plugin, which is mini CSS extract plugin, and the benefit of this is extreme. So first of all, I have added this in the plugins, which is an array. And instead of style loader, I'm saying that, hey man, I want to use the mini CSS extract plugin loader. Okay. So let me go over here, generate the bundle again, and let's refresh the app. So now if you'll notice, in the head tag, we don't have inline styles, but we have a main.css. So this is something that was generated by our plugin. So what this plugin does is basically it takes all your CSS and generates a bundled optimized CSS, which now can be used by the HTML Webpack plugin to load the CSS from a file and not in inline way. Okay, so now let's move on to the next chapter, which is how to use TypeScript. And this is something which I am really interested about. So now if you'll notice, I have added a TypeScript dependency, and I have also created a string-util.ts file, which is TypeScript based. Now what is TypeScript? It's like JavaScript but on steroids. It has a bunch of things, and I will just show you a small demo. So I'm saying that type decorator is either a star or a hash, and I'm exporting a function prefix decorate, which takes a string and the type is string, and decorator, the type is decorator. So it's not a string, it's either a star or it's a hash. And what I'm doing is I'm having a prefix decorate, so I'm returning a string, but the decorator character is occurring 3 times. The benefit of TypeScript is if I try to do something like this, it automatically says, hey man, dollar is not a valid decorator because decorator is either a star or hash. If I make this star, the error should go away, right? So it's working. As soon as I add something else, it will complain that this is star 34 is not a valid decorator. So this is the benefit of TypeScript. And at this point, if I try to import a string util in my index.js file like this, and I'm doing a prefix decorate log of hello learning webpack, do you think it will work? Let's see. Oh my god, so many errors, right? So let's understand what's happening. The first thing that Webpack is complaining is it does not understand where is this file. It is saying that string util does not exist. String util.js does not exist, .json does not exist, .wasm does not exist, which is WebAssembly. So basically a lot of things it say it did not exist because we have not mentioned what it is. So if I do ts and I save this, the error for that goes away, but now it is saying that I don't understand what is this file, this ts file, I don't understand. I think you should need an appropriate loader for this, right? Perfect. So basically it does not understand this file, what is the syntax, and it's saying that you should use some loader for this. But before I do that, I also do not want this .ts, right? Because you will see in TypeScript projects, we do not really mention that it's .ts or .js. Even here, I did not say mat.js. It was automatically able to resolve that. So now let's actually do that, okay? So now let's go to the next chapter and fixing the TypeScript setup. Okay, so nothing changes over here. And if you will notice, if I rerun my Webpack config, it should work like a charm. So it generated everything, no errors. If I go over here, I go to the console. Here is it. So I'm having the decorator, the 3 stars and hello learning Webpack, right? If it's not clear, let me zoom in on this. So this is hello learning Webpack over here. Okay. So what did we change? Well, again, if we'll go to package.json, I have added a dependency for ts loader, which is TypeScript loader. Now, what would be the next change? Well, we will go to the Webpack config and we are adding another rule that, hey Webpack, if you encounter ts files, please use ts loader. That's it. And we have also added a ts_config.json file. It's empty. It's just something which is needed by TypeScript. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. I did not do anything else and everything is working fine. Our error has gone away. And we are able to successfully in index.js, we are able to add. So basically TypeScript, we did not change the entire JavaScript to TypeScript. Okay, we did not do that. But this is a proof of concept that even in ongoing projects, you can create TypeScript files and you can continue to use them in index.js, right? So this is something that I wanted to highlight, and this is super cool. I hope you are able to enjoy this video and the progress you are making with Webpack and how you are using a bunch of different files all together. What is the next step, guys? What do you think is the next chapter? All right, the next chapter is a demo to use React without create React app. So what did we change? Well, in package.json, I have added React and React DOM, which is needed by React components. And that's pretty much about it. I have added Babel core so that we can transpile the JSX kind of code to something that browser can understand. So for that, if you'll notice, welcome message is no longer welcome message.js. It's a JSX file, which is a React component. And now it is returning a div. Okay. And I'm using the preset React to tell Babel that if you encounter JSX, please transpile it to React code. So basically, if you notice the output, this would have been created to react.createElement or something like that, because I'm using or I'm configuring Babel to use that. So where am I doing that? Again, you will go to the Webpack config. Now we have a different loader for JSX files, and we are saying that, hey man, please use a loader for Babel. And you can see that the use is sometimes an array, it can be a string, or it can be an object in which you can specify that the loader is Babel loader, and you can also pass in options to the loader. I am passing that, hey man, please use the preset of preset React. So if I do this, and if you'll notice, I have also added a resolve for extensions TS, JS, and JSX. Okay, so this is the way how I am telling the Webpack that even if someone is doing import without the extension, you should resolve all the files. You should look for TS files or JS file or JSX files. Okay, so this is how we actually fix the error of importing this from string util.ts. It's not needed because we just told Webpack how to import or what kind of files to look for when you are doing the import. All right, so at this point, if I try to run the Webpack again, it might look like everything is working because the bundle would be generated at this point. However, we will see there is one problem, and that problem is about React. Okay, so just give few seconds before. Okay, so this is already compiled. So this is compiled. It looks like everything is working, right? And if we'll go to the index.js, I'm importing my React component. This is React component, guys, right? I'm returning a div. It's a React component. So welcome message is here. I am using create root from React DOM so that I can render this component to my document.body. And I'm doing this. So this is pure React, right? I have not used create React app at this point, and my bundle got generated successfully. So at this point, it looks like everything is working. But if I go over here, it's saying React is not defined, right? The reason for that is React components, when they are transpiled by Babel, it uses react.createElement. So we need to have React import whenever we are using such JSX statements. So to fix that, simply let's add the React imports and everything should work. So I have added an import React here. I have added import React here. And if is my Webpack running in prod mode? I think it is. Oh, and you see, it got refreshed. The bundle has been generated, and we are able to really load React component, and we are not still using create React app. If you'll notice our package.json, it's very smooth. We have a few dependencies for React, obviously because we are using React. TypeScript, again, it's your choice, but only by these like dev dependencies, we are just using Webpack and the loaders and the plugins. And just by that, we don't need create React app. And we have now, like, it was a great learning session for me, and I hope for you as well, like how Webpack works behind the scenes and how this module bundlers, like what do they exactly do. So I hope at this point you have that confidence to understand and really go through a different Webpack configs. And if you still have any doubts, let me know in comment section below. And if you like my work, kindly subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and please share this video with your friends or on LinkedIn. I hope this was great, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, happy coding. Bye bye.